Good, so welcome from me. My name's Prajnamanas. Very good to see you all for week 4 of the meditation challenge. Nearly over, but not quite yet. And hello to you if you're tuning in online from home. So I'll say a little bit more about the challenge in a minute. We'll do probably a couple of periods of meditation in this first half. But first, as usual, we'll salute the shrine, which we do standing up. What I think we'll do actually is just a little bit of meditation to settle us for the evening. So I'll just lead a 5 or 10 minute practice helping us relax and tune in basically, and then I'll say a bit more. Okay? So if you want to set up for meditation. So you could close your eyes now if you haven't already. And one of the things you can use this short meditation for is to find your posture in a slightly subtler way. So if you meditate regularly, you know what sort of posture you use and you can get into it quickly. Now that you've sat and closed your eyes, you can feel into what more subtle adjustments you need to make. So that might be leaning slightly further forward or further back. Remembering to let the shoulders drop. And making sure you're allowing the breath in and out of the body. So you're not pushing, not managing the flow of the breath too much. If you relax the face and head, you might find you can feel your head poised on the neck and shoulders slightly more. Again, it doesn't need to be held there tightly, it can just sit. And you can make sure the hands are nice and slack, like dead weights. And allow the weight to sink down through the lower part of your body into the floor and seat. So we don't need to grip on in the lower back or hips or thighs. You can start to relax a bit more deeply there. And from that slightly heavier, slightly stiller posture, nicely anchored, we'll now just allow the breath to come and go for a few minutes. So experience the breathing. And remember, we're not blocking anything, so sounds will come and go. Thoughts will probably come and go. Part of what we're doing is just allowing our experience to be whatever it is. The point is to stay with it rather than necessarily change it. So there's nothing else we need to do for now, and that can be such a relief. So thoughts about your day or about your future, little cravings or irritations, you don't have to follow them up. You can just sit here, feeling the breath come and go. So the in-breath and the out-breath. Just keeping it nice and simple. Feeling that. Okay, and letting go of the breath now. Starting to relax your efforts. Coming back into the room if you feel you're slightly elsewhere. And when you're ready, opening your eyes and coming out of the meditation. Good. I'm just going to turn off this noisy radiator. Okay, so yes, we've been doing this meditation challenge for the whole of January. Stick your hand up if you've been to at least one session here during January, just so I know. Most. Okay, great. Good, yes, so most of you will know that, the challenge has been to come to the centre once a week, meditate every day, and then we forget to say and see what effect it has. I think that's the main thing. We've got to sort of tick those boxes, I suppose, of meditating regularly, but the whole point really is do an experiment and see what you find. There'll be a chance to talk about how you found it in a minute. But to tune us in just a little bit more, and in case you haven't been here, we've been moving through these things called the 4 reminders, which, in the way I summarise it anyway, is that they're 4 reasons to practice now, 4 reasons to meditate and deepen the mind now. So they're kind of quite expressive of the urgency, for a Buddhist at least, of working on the mind. So I won't recap all of that. Probably Adityabandhu will later. But last week, just to give an example, I talked about the law of karma. What that, I don't know, we did a bit of myth busting, what that doesn't mean, what it actually does mean, about willed actions having consequences. So perhaps some of you have even found during your week you were able to reflect a little bit on that. We did an exercise of bringing to mind something you're not proud of, basically, how you feel in yourself. In the sort of privacy of your own mind with your eyes closed, how that actually feels internally, if you don't have to tell somebody else, although some people did tell us. And then something that you are more pleased with, like a generous or kind act, or an act expressive of more awareness and how that feels, to get at the fact that you can steer the course of your life much more than it feels like usually. So I think a lot of Buddhist meditation and actually Buddhist ethics is to do with getting away from this idea that life happens to you. It doesn't mean you can control it all, but that the type of mind we cultivate will create the type of world, almost literally, not quite literally, but more or less, it will create the world we then experience. So how our mind is will condition what comes back to us, apparently, from the world. Because I said during that, didn't I, that part of what we're doing in meditation is allowing our experience to be as it is, rather than trying to imagine, fantasizing it being something else, or trying to push it away and swap it for another one. But allowing experience to be what it's like is, as I say, only part of what we're doing in meditation, because the real purpose of meditation is actually to transform our experience. That doesn't mean, again, living in a sort of fantasy. It means refining the mind to such an extent that, well, to any extent, because that will have an impact on our life. And we'll do the Metta bhavana in a short while, and personally I believe doing the Metta bhavana regularly will really transform your experience. It will really affect your life, actually change your life. Health warning there, if you're doing it regularly. We'll come back to that, do Metta bhavana in a minute. And we've got just a couple of minutes for an exercise of reflecting on the challenge, if you've been here, and in a slightly different way if you haven't. So in a minute, I'm going to suggest you get into pairs, ideally with somebody you don't know yet, and just take a minute each, let's say, or a minute and a half each, to say what effect you think the challenge has had. If you've come to even one session, just talk about that, but especially if you've been to 2 or 3, what effect has it had on you coming to the sessions of the challenge, and what do you want to do next on the basis of that? Yeah. If you haven't been to the challenge, but you're meditating, just say what effect your meditation practice has had on you recently, and where you want to go next with it, particularly what your next steps are in terms of creating a routine, sticking to it, come to the centre, all that sort of thing. Yeah. Like I say, it's easy to forget to reflect on what effect is this having, and quite often we say that what we want isn't to be, isn't to look like our sort of spiritual fantasy of ourselves. It's more to have an effective practice. If you've got an effective practice, then you can't lose really. It might take a long time to win altogether, but you can't lose if you've got an effective practice. So that's what we're looking for. Yeah. So is that clear enough? If you're on the challenge, what effects it had? Where do you want to go next? If you haven't been on the challenge, what effects it having your meditation? Where do you want to go next? About 3 minutes total. Yeah, so make sure to change over after about a minute. Okay, off you go. And if you're online, you can type all that in the chat. So I should have made that clearer perhaps. If you're online, you could write into the chat what effect it's been having. It'd be especially interesting to know if you can only tune in from home, if you can't make it to the centre or haven't been able to. What's it been like tuning into the sessions online and meditating more at home, and what would you like to do next? Okay, sorry, rather short, high decibel reflection period there. So have we got just a couple of people willing to say what effect they find this has had and where they'd like to take it next? And Liam will stick his hand up if someone types in the chat. Yes, Angela.
I was saying that I think the main effect for me was that it was almost like protective, like I was sort of protecting something in myself.
Being on the challenge was protective.
Yeah, or like just practicing the meditation, not like losing myself maybe and like getting carried away with distractions or things. There was like some thread there that I could come back to.
Yeah.
That was like protective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. So you've said it better than I can. You've guarded something. Your pursuit of value, you've guarded it by making a bit of a commitment to coming. Is that what's happened? Yeah. Great. Thank you. What else?
I enjoyed learning about the theory, little bits of the theory stuff, like the karma thing last week. I really enjoyed.
Okay, karma. Why did you appreciate that, do you think?
Well, I was just reflecting on it now. I brought it up in a conversation with someone and hearing, not that specifically, but it helped me articulate something else that I was talking about with someone else over the week. It's just, it's like a lexicon, basically, isn't it? I've enjoyed that.
Okay, so the session on karma sort of informed a discussion. You're having brought something to it.
As well.
Okay, good.
I've enjoyed that a little bit.
Good. Thank you. Anyone know kind of where they want to take it next? Any next steps becoming apparent to you? Did anyone mention next steps? In a minute I'll get your partner to give you away. What might you do next? Even just thinking now, if this has had value for you.
I was saying for me, it's very important to keep coming back to the centre on a very regular basis because that feels like it keeps me quite anchored and engaged with my practice. I feel the effects of that. Like the following day, I feel like when I sit down to meditate, it's a real decision to meditate and not just sit with my eyes closed for half an hour, which I can do sometimes. So it's like there's something in that like invigorates my practice.
Coming along invigorates the practice. Do you know why that is?
I think partly it's a reminder of why I'm practicing. So when you're listening to teachings, it's like a clear source of inspiration. And partly it's being reminded that you're doing it with other people and you're doing it for other people as well. So
I like that, yeah.
Aspect.
Doing it with other people and for other people. And I think you're right about input. If I think about my own meditation practice, luckily I can get through a 3 or 4 week solitary retreat on my existing inspiration with a little bit of reading or whatever. I haven't tried a longer one yet, but at some point it might run out. And anyway, however long we've been away from Dharma input, we'll always, well, for a long time, we'll need some, won't we? And practicing with others is one of the best forms of that, because even aside from what's said in the classes, as you say, others remind you of your purpose. So I think that's very good, yeah. But I particularly remember and want to draw out, you're doing it with others, but also for others. That's important. Yeah, thank you. Liam.
Someone online has shared that they signed up for the Life with Full Attention course.
Brilliant. Good. Yeah. Excellent. Next step. Yeah. I'm afraid I can't recommend coming to that because it's full. Although online you can. Yeah. And anyway, that person's booked. I was just thinking of the people in the room, but you can still sign up online. But that's a very good thing to do as well. A course, Adityabandhu, you might mention this again in the second half, because it would be like this series. Like if you like the challenge, you'll love, etc. You'll love Life with Full Attention, but you'll get an even more kind of systematic review of what you're doing, 8 weeks rather than 4, with the same people and so on. So a course is an excellent way to do it as well. Yeah. Good, thank you. So I want to go back now a little bit to transforming the mind, especially with the Metta bhavana, and we'll do some Metta bhavana. Perhaps I'll just take off from what Izzy mentioned there about doing it not just with others but for others. One of the dangers of meditation is it becomes self-preoccupied and basically reinforces an existing tendency to think about ourselves rather much. We all do it, we've all been there. But you can see the risk, can't you? Introspection means looking inwards. We're doing that for a purpose, which is to kind of we're doing it to brighten the world. That starts with our world, and they're not separate things. It's a bit of a shame. Quite often you get debates, including in Buddhism, about can I help others before I help myself, or a tension between loving ourselves and loving others and so on. The brilliant thing about practice is that as you go further into it, that boundary will dissolve, and hence that question or that problem will dissolve. I don't mean that you become one with everything, as in the Dalai Lama joke with the pizza. I won't tell it. Yes. It's quite funny, but I won't tell it. I better not lower the tone, we're just about to meditate. Where am I? How do I get onto the Dalai Lama? Transform your world. I've completely lost myself.
There's a tension between self and
Thank you. Something's wrong with me this evening. Yeah. It's not that we become one with everything, it's that questions of whether it's for our sake or somebody else's just soften, because those aren't separate agendas anymore. Okay, so love it's to do with loving whoever that is. I think it's the same thing in the end. One poet said, what we love in ourselves is ourselves loving. As in, if you want to love yourself, experience yourself loving another, and you just will. Yeah, what we love in ourselves is ourselves loving. I think there's a kind of lovingness, if that's an awkward word, but metta, that's a better one, is a kind of atmosphere. It's a kind of behaviour as well, but it's a kind of atmosphere that causes you to worry less about yourself. That's one of the best things about it. If you're a bit more bountiful, creative, energetic, you'll do yourself a lot more favours, you'll live better, and you'll just be there for others a bit more. I think in the end it's the same thing. So I think that's part of why self and other are included in this practice, and we mustn't separate them out too much. We're just looking from our point of view. That's all it really is. It's not a huge problematic fortress with a thickly protected inside and a mysterious outside. We're just looking from a particular point of view for now, but on a world that needs more of that loving, metaphysical atmosphere, and we can all do that. We can all contribute to that, and we do it when we practice the Metta bhavana. So, so I think it's good to believe that you can transform the mind, anyway, I won't say more for now, so we've got time to meditate. We'll do the 5 stages of the Metta bhavana, and then time for tea. Okay. So see if you can tune back in now to the first meditation we did at the beginning of the evening. That atmosphere of a nice, heavy, still body with a relaxed face and shoulders, a belly soft enough that the breath can just come and go. And you can tune in a little more to the heart center as well. See if you can keep that relaxed and open, or at least stay sensitive to it. Metta bhavana. So staying in your postures now, but starting to let the meditation go. Just relaxing here for a minute. Okay, so time for some tea next door. If you're online, we'll be back in here at about 25 to 9, or 8:40 latest. Yeah, this is the last week, isn't it? Last half session even. Of the 4 reminders, so we've gone through the 4. Who can remember what they are? First one? I heard it. Life is precious, yeah. That's good, yeah. Second one? It's about things not... all things pass. Very good, yeah. Yep. Okay, third one? Someone else this time. The one we did last week.
Nothing stays the same.
That was the second one. All things pass.
Actions have consequences.
Yeah, karma. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, life is precious. All things pass, and karma. All things change. Oh no, sorry. Actions have consequences. Good. That was as much for me as it was for you. Yeah. So they all kind of, as Prajnamanas has been saying, they all kind of hang together. These 4 reflections, these 4 reminders, is what they really are. Yeah, reminders of practice. Reminders of what we're here to do, what we're here, why we're, what the best thing we can do with this life is. Yeah. So the last one, and you might have seen on YouTube or elsewhere, and the last reminder is, it's the fact that it's called the defects of samsara. Yeah? How we've called it is there is more to life. And I'll go into what defects of samsara means. Yeah, and I think the big heading is just apt. There is more to life. Yeah, and I mean, to be honest, what Prajnamanas was saying in the break, kind of themes he was touching upon, I think it can kind of go from there. So you're talking about friendship and your friendships that you have, long-lasting friendships in the order, people you look up to. Yeah, you were talking about giving to people that you might not know, who might benefit from the Dharma. So I want to take that. I want to go back a little bit to where these reflections might have come from. So obviously when they were, when these kind of reflections were being made up, as it were, there was quite a strong cultural emphasis on Buddhism. Yeah, Buddhism was in the culture. People had daily, if not weekly, contact with full-time Buddhists, people who are always practicing the Dharma, who are embodying the Dharma
Yeah, this is in traditional Buddhist societies, yeah, where these reflections would have come up. So people would have had full-time sort of contact with people who are practicing. And so what that means was that all of these reflections would have come from a society that knew what the kind of spirit of Buddhism was. Yeah. So they were in contact with people who were embodying it. So it was less. It was more difficult to misinterpret what we actually meant by these reflections. Yeah. So, a couple of weeks ago I talked about impermanence and the fact that things pass, but the fact that also things, because they pass, new things come into being. Yeah, we do have a chance to change, to transform, and yeah, that's. I suppose what I want to say is, if you were in contact with Buddhists all the time, then one would hope that you can see that they're happy, they're healthy, and all of this sort of talk about defects of samsara, impermanence, they would actually carry a deeper message, which is we can go towards something more important. We can kind of create. We can grow a bigger mind. We can become sort of a better version of ourselves, and that means that we can become happier, because the people who are living it full time are happier, they're more fulfilled, and so on. Yeah. Anyway, that's quite a roundabout way of saying that. My own little example, I think, or my own little kind of contact with something more, kind of began when I was a bit younger, and I went to Catholic school, and the chaplain there, a very good man, he I don't know, he just was interested in me and my life and what it was like, and he did that with a lot of us, and we really got to, myself and some of my friends really feel kind of, this man knows what he's doing. He knows what life's about. He knows how to live, and I really took that as the first time I saw someone that I wanted to be like. Yeah. Yeah, he just kind of embodied what I wanted to be. So from then I kind of took, I don't know, I had an idea of what it might be like to live a kind of a spiritual life, or a life dedicated to something more. So I think why I'm saying this is because before we actually delve into the defects of samsara, I think it's important that we kind of have people around. Well, it's important that we can look up to people, and it's important that we can sort of we catch the Dharma, we catch things from people who are more experienced than us, and we only do that through kind of being in a community, practicing together, seeing people who are kind of further along the path. Yeah. Okay, maybe I'll come back to that a little bit, and I think I'll try and so I'll say a little bit about samsara, its defects perhaps, what that means, and basically why we need to practice with others, and what we can do now, sort of like 21st century, in order to sort of live a more fulfilled life, see that there's more to life. So, as I said, these last two kind of pairings go together. So, karma and the defects of samsara kind of they're kind of paired, they kind of hang together. Basically, they mean that we can overcome kind of clinging to future pleasures, things that we want, things that we fantasize about, and we can start to cultivate positive, skillful habits, just like Prajnamanas was saying last week. So those two kind of hang together, and we call them the defects of samsara. Samsara being the conditioned, things that are subject to impermanence, things that are going to pass. You can think of our sort of material existence. We can think of our things that we things that we think are ours, our sort of our social status. Our bodies is one thing, condition, as Prajnamanas is saying. His friend was possibly perfectly healthy a month ago, or thought that he was, and now he's terminally ill. Yeah. Our looks, when we're young, we think, oh, we're going to look young forever, and it's going to be great, but we probably won't. So all these things come under the bracket of samsara, the conditioned existence. Yeah, and why it's a defect isn't. It's just pointing out the fact that it doesn't work. Yeah, that these things that we cling on to, these things that we take as kind of for granted that are ours, that we're always going to have, our health, our looks, our material possessions, that clinging to them won't work. Yeah. Actually, it goes a bit further than that. It says a defect's a sort of a lack. Yeah. So as much as we think they're going to give us something, we'll always experience a lack. So it isn't so much that samsara is evil, it's bad, that if we do it, that's, we shouldn't do it. It's not quite like that. It's more like, as long as we do that, we will just experience a lack of meaning, as long as we think that's the only thing that will give us something. Yeah. So yeah, there is more to life, as it were. Yeah. And it goes for, it also goes for kind of, I suppose nowadays we can have different kind of reactions to that, can't we? We can have different ways we try and tackle the feeling that there is more. So, I talked about my priest friend. I did have a kind of a foray into that world, and it didn't quite work out for me. And what I did, I kind of swung back eventually in my teens and did the whole kind of church doesn't work, so I'll do kind of materialism, hedonism, going out and partying and drinking and all that sort of thing. So that is a danger, isn't it? We can think that samsara is something that we're doing now, and only if we do the opposite, then we'll be all right. Only if we kind of auto-correct and do the complete opposite, then we'll be okay. And often what that means, sort of nowadays, it can be that, we can, we can just try and find meaning in things that won't give us that. So, what that could mean, again, for us, maybe we're not doing that overtly, maybe we're not going out and doing all that sort of thing. Maybe we're pretty calm, collected, we feel like our life is pretty stable. We're at the Buddhist center on a Wednesday. That's quite good going. So we might think, okay, maybe I'm all right then. I'm in this sort of middle ground. But I would also question that, because Well, we can just really get trapped. Our mind can really trap us in these kind of. Our mind can trap us, and what I mean is that. What does I mean? Well, there's the example. I'm kind of, to be honest, I've been a bit inspired by Prajnamanas on Saturday, who was here talking about this similar theme, and he was saying, we can come meditate and we can go out and get our plant-based, our coffee with a plant-based milk to go with it, and we can recycle and we can go to protests. We can do all those things that are associated to whatever we consider as Buddhism or what we consider as right. And at the same time, what that does, it still doesn't answer that kind of, something lacking, yeah? And yeah, in a way we don't really know what to do with it. We might not know what to do with it. We can think, then maybe there's something wrong with me. But basically this is samsara. This is samsara because what samsara does, when we're in that, when we're grasping after something that we think will make things okay, when we're pushing things away that we don't want in our experience, what we're reinforcing is that, well, we're just in the center of our own worlds, aren't we? When we're doing that, when we're pushing things away, we're saying, we're kind of the center, we're the most important. And when I say pushing things away, I also mean people. We also push people away. We go after people we really want to be next to, or we're really attracted to. We push people away who are going to disagree with us, or are going to make us feel uncomfortable because they're different to us. Maybe they have a different social status. Maybe they have different beliefs to us. So all this we're doing, we're just kind of building a bit of a fortress possibly around us. At the same time, we know, because we're here, mainly because we're here, that there is something more. So that's the rub, yeah? We do these things to bring things towards us, to shape our lives how we want to shape them, to get the people around us we want to have around us, to satisfy the needs that we think need satisfying. Going to the gym, making ourselves look really good, getting a really high-paying job, buying everything we need, and all that sort of thing. At the same time, we know that everyone else is doing the same thing. Everyone else has themselves as the center of their universe, and out of that grows that sort of dissatisfaction. Yeah, the feeling like, I'm not quite aligned with something. And it might come out in different ways. I mean, for me personally, I sort of find it in communication with others. I want to sort of connect to them, and I want to get my point across, but it's not really satisfying until we've both, myself and the other person, have really kind of got somewhere. Yeah, I'm finding this more and more. Actually, I'm finding that I'm just more sensitive to things that are going wrong. That I'm putting myself at the center of things, and I'm finding when I'm doing that too much, that the world doesn't align, and then I get there, something's not right. And that can be something that happens as you go along. You can sort of sensitize yourself to the fact that this thing that I've done, this way I'm seeing the world, it's not quite right, it's not quite aligning with sort of higher values, yeah? So bringing it down, what does that mean? It means, I'm kind of trying to bring it together here in my mind, but I think it does mean something to do with being in a community with people, and particularly in a community with people that you look up to, who have qualities that you aspire to have yourself. Even people that when you're next to you, there's like a bit of a tension that you want to be, you might want to be more like them, but you don't necessarily find them easy to be around, and you can't quite place it, but you want to be like them more. So what I'm trying to get at is that if we're around people who are more sort of, who are certainly more experienced than us, spiritually speaking, then we can benefit greatly. And you know, I'm sure we've all experienced those times that we've gone to someone with an issue, or we've approached someone to talk something out, someone who we trust, who we feel like will help us because they're more experienced. And as soon as we start talking to them, or in the midst of a conversation, we just completely forget why we're there. It's like, why did we even care about that thing in the first place? Our perspective kind of gets bigger, yeah. So that can only happen in community. That can only happen when we're allowing ourselves to be affected by other people. And then, you know, practically speaking, you can't pick and choose what people are like, can you? I mean, I live in the community upstairs with Prajnamanas, and it's great because you can't, I can't have picked the 12 guys that I live with. Probably if I had at the time, when I first moved in, I would have picked guys who thought similar things to me and agreed with things that I agreed on and had similar hobbies, and we'd probably be fine, at least for a little bit. We wouldn't kind of disagree with each other mostly. We'd probably do similar things, and it'd probably be quite boring actually, and I probably wouldn't grow, yeah. So so anyway, that's just another thing. So yeah, we really need to kind of try and connect to the community, try and come to the LBC. You know, as Prajnamanas was saying, that's just, you know, going forward, what are we doing going forward? We can come to the LBC, we can get to know people, we can meditate, we can come here more often. Okay. So I think actually one thing we'll do, so we'll do a little practice, and then I might hear back from you, and then we'll kind of wrap up a little bit. We'll wrap up quickly after that. So actually what we'll do, we'll sit and we will bring someone to mind who we look up to. Yeah, someone who we know is someone we would aspire to be more like. Yeah. probably the first person that comes to mind, pretty much more or less. Yeah. They've probably already popped into our mind while I've been talking. And we'll just sit with them and just wish them well. And we can just sit with them. We can just sit with them and get more of a sense of them being with us, or being with you, sort of them being present with you, and we can just do that, and then we'll come back and we'll feed. I'll get us to feed back a little bit about some things about how that was, But does that make sense now as a steer? Yeah. Okay. So we'll do that for maybe 10 minutes or so. Yeah. So let's set up. Okay. So we can just begin by bringing this person to mind. So someone we look up to for their inner qualities. So a person that we aspire to be more like, or whose qualities we aspire to have. And we can just sit with them. And you can imagine the metta flowing between both of you. So you can even imagine them wishing you well. can just sit in their presence. So you can just let go of the practice now. And after I ring the bell, we can come out of meditation. So I have two questions. First one is, how did that feel physically? Are there any sort of anything you notice in your body, any kind of physical, ungripping, releasing, any of that sort going on, or the opposite? That's the first question. Maybe we'll go from there if anyone has any. Yeah.
I thought of two people, just one. Felt first time quite light and relaxed, particularly that mutual, Metta bhavana flowing in both directions. So I liked, because that's a nice twist on at least how I do Metta bhavana. And then the second.
Is there a physical sort of counterpart? You see what I mean?
Sorry, say again.
Because you said light and relaxed.
Yeah.
And did that come from a physical sort of something happening in your body? You see what I mean? That's just one level above that, above physical.
I think it started with the mind, feeling quite light and accessing something from that person, feeling a nice sense of rapport. And then I think for me it started in the mind, then it went into the body.
Right. Okay. So you conjured them up.
Yeah.
And then, okay. And was it similar? So you mean like there was also lightness, relaxation in your body?
Yeah. But definitely starting, at least for me, in the mind and flowed.
Okay. Yeah. Someone else had?
Like a softening,
Ah.
chest of the heart. And this person is quite friendly to me as well, so I can tenderness.
Just by bringing them to mind. Well, yeah.
Okay.
Was that pleasant? Yeah. Great. Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's good. Yeah. I think that is. I suppose it's a good sign. Yeah. I'll come back to that. I'll go one a little bit sort of further and ask: were there any qualities of mind that you found, like, I don't know, tranquility, something else? Maybe excitement. Something else. Prajnamanas.
I was just aware it was pleasurable mentally. It was pleasurable having this person in.
Right.
Just enjoyable.
Yeah.
Making contact with them in that way.
You look surprised slightly.
Maybe it's simpler than what I think is going to happen.
Right. Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
Like or that some more spiritual or philosophical quality will come to. Do you see what I mean? But actually, I just think how nice.
Right. Yeah.
How nice bringing them to mind. What I mean is, it's not necessarily to do with looking up. Someone I look up to. I mean, that's who I picked, but I just enjoyed sitting with them in my mind.
Yeah. I know what you mean, because sometimes it can be, if it's someone we look up to, we can come already with kind of, I know for me, a bit defended, a bit like, I look up to them, so I know I have to be a bit like this around them. And the thing of imagination is all of that doesn't have to be there, and then we can actually bring that into, or A, we can bring it into interactions with them, and B, we get a sense of that kind of quality that we associate with them. Yeah. One more, maybe?
I felt quite a lot of physical sensations of anxiety.
Ah.
My stomach, just to start And I think because it was someone I looked up to, initially my mind was going into comparisons, sort of negative comparisons about me. But I was able to sort of, that kind of faded, and it was just much more about being in their presence.
Right,
And that
right.
was something that was quite pleasurable and light and warm.
Great. Did you know what, was it just you sticking with them, or did you do something specific when there was anxiety?
And
See
I
what I
think I was trying to focus on just the Metta bhavana.
Right, yeah, right, yeah.
And that idea that it could be mutual between us.
Yeah, great. Yeah. Yeah, it's like, it does feel like down a level when we do think of people, we can actually, with those qualities, we can actually sort of open up to that. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's good. That's good. I mean, in a way, I think that's kind of the key, isn't it? We have an idea or an ideal in mind, and often we can kind of we can kind of get in the way of that. By, I don't know. Well, I suppose what I mean is actually, this is an easier point to make. It is just easy to contemplate or to reflect on things that we look up to, and it's easier possibly than we think. And usually that comes in the form of an ideal or someone we look up to. I was also going to say we could do this practice with the Buddha in mind. There is a practice where we bring the Buddha to mind. You can go on YouTube if you don't know it. We have one on YouTube, and it's such a beautiful practice because we're out of our own world, really. We're out of our own world, for our small tight world, for like however long it is, and that does penetrate sort of that boundary, that strong boundary that's associated with this sense of me being kind of separate from the world. Hence the difficulty. That strong boundary is, like Prajnamanas was saying in the first half, it's softened. Those qualities that people have, we start to, I don't know, they just start to inform us more. It's not that we have them anymore, but they become more part of us somehow. They just become more accessible, I suppose. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I hope that's I'm going to leave it there, actually. And one of the things, we were saying is, obviously, now the challenge is over, come back. And one thing I would certainly recommend, now that the course is full, is another course, which Prajnamanas is leading with Jnanavarcha, which starts on the 3rd of April, that's right, yeah. Which is a Wednesday, so you're already here on Wednesday, so you're available on Wednesday. But Prajnamanas, who you've either seen over the last few weeks or today, obviously a very good teacher, and Jnanavarcha, who's you may know is also a very experienced order member. And it's called Who Hates a Metta Bhavana? Yeah, so yeah, it's a good title, isn't it? But basically, you're going to focus on, if you do the course, you focus on the Metta Bhavana, and you sort of get it from all angles. Yeah, you get how you can really, how it can change your life, how you can do it, how to re-engage with it. You'll come here, you'll do it with people. As I said, you'll learn from people. Presumably there'll be groups, I imagine. You'll hear about how people do it. You'll it'll inspire you to go home, to put that into effect, what the leaders have said, what you've heard from the groups, to influence your practice, to inform your practice even. It's still you, it's not someone else's practice, it's still your practice, but you just draw from a bigger pool of inspiration. Yeah. So I suppose that's what I mean by this community. So it's still you, but you just draw from bigger pools of inspiration and people who have done it for longer. Yeah. So yeah, I definitely recommend that. And then also just come on Wednesday, keep coming on Wednesday, and we'll sort of get to know each other more and more over the next while. Yeah. Okay. So let's just finish with let's just do a just sitting, and at the end I'll do a transference of merit in call and response. So what that means is all the merits that we've accumulated over the 4 weeks, or however long you've been, we will give up for the benefit of others. Yeah, that's a Buddhist vision. We practice, we transform our mind, and then we give it up so that people can do the same. Just like in Prajnamanas story, whether we know them or not, whether they're on retreat and we'll never meet them or not. So yeah, we'll transfer our merits at the end. So we'll just sit for a couple of minutes, and then I'll start. So just recognizing the effort that you've made over the past 4 weeks, or however long you've done the challenge for, the meditation challenge. Transference of merits and self-surrender. May the merit gained, in my acting thus, go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings. My personality throughout my existences. My possessions. And my merit in all 3 ways. I give up without regard to myself. For the benefit of all beings. Just as the earth and other elements. Are serviceable in many ways. To the infinite number of beings. Inhabiting limitless space. So may I become. That which maintains all beings. Situated throughout space. So long as all have not attained.
So long as all have not attained.
To peace.
To peace.
So yeah, that's all we have time for. So yeah, if you'd like to, we could get on mats, cushions just inside and see you soon.